It was a crisp autumn morning in the small town of Willow Creek. The leaves had just begun to turn, painting the landscape in hues of red, orange, and gold. The air was filled with the scent of wood smoke and the sound of children's laughter as they played in the park. At the edge of the park stood a quaint little bookstore, its windows adorned with colorful displays of the latest bestsellers. Inside, the shelves were lined with books of every genre, from romance to mystery to science fiction. The store was owned by a kind-hearted woman named Emily, who had a passion for literature and a love for her community. Emily was busy arranging a display of new arrivals when the bell above the door jingled, signaling the arrival of a customer. She looked up to see a young man, no older than 20, with a mop of curly hair and a shy smile. He was dressed in a worn-out jacket and carried a backpack slung over one shoulder. "Good morning," Emily said, her voice warm and welcoming. "How can I help you today?" The young man hesitated for a moment before speaking. "I'm looking for a book," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Something to help me escape, you know." Emily nodded, understanding the sentiment all too well. "Of course," she said. "What kind of stories do you like?" The young man thought for a moment. "I like stories about adventure," he said. "Stories where the hero overcomes great odds and finds happiness in the end." Emily smiled and led him to a shelf in the back of the store. She pulled out a book with a worn leather cover and handed it to him. "This is one of my favorites," she said. "It's about a young man who sets out on a journey to find his place in the world. Along the way he faces many challenges, but he never gives up. In the end, he finds not only happiness but also a sense of purpose." The young man took the book, his eyes lighting up with interest. "Thank you," he said. "This sounds perfect." As he turned to leave, Emily noticed a look of sadness in his eyes. "Is everything all right?" she asked, her voice filled with concern. The young man hesitated, then nodded. "Yeah, I'm fine," he said. But his voice betrayed him. Emily could sense that something was troubling him. "If you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here," she said. "Sometimes it helps to share your burdens with someone else." The young man looked at her, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you," he said. "I appreciate that." With that, he left the store, the book clutched tightly in his hand. Over the next few weeks, the young man became a regular at the bookstore. He would come in every few days, browsing the shelves and chatting with Emily about his latest read. Slowly but surely, he began to open up to her, sharing bits and pieces of his life. His name was Alex, and he had recently moved to Willow Creek to start a new life. He had left behind a troubled past, filled with mistakes and regrets. He was trying to make a fresh start, but the weight of his past still hung heavy on his shoulders. Emily listened patiently, offering words of encouragement and support. She told him about her own struggles, about how she had lost her husband to cancer and had to raise their 2 children on her own. She spoke of the strength she had found in her community and the kindness of strangers who had become friends. Alex was inspired by her resilience. He began to see that he was not alone in his struggles, that there were others who had faced similar challenges and had come out stronger on the other side. One day, as they were talking, Emily mentioned a local writing contest. "It's for aspiring authors," she said. "The winner gets their story published in the town newspaper." Alex's eyes lit up. "I've always wanted to write," he said, "but I've never had the courage to share my work with anyone." Emily smiled. "Well, maybe this is your chance," she said. "You have a story to tell, Alex. Don't be afraid to share it with the world." Encouraged by her words, Alex decided to enter the contest. He spent hours at the bookstore scribbling in his notebook, pouring his heart and soul into his story. When the day of the contest arrived, Alex was nervous but excited. He submitted his story, a tale of redemption and hope, inspired by his own journey. To his surprise and delight, he won the contest. His story was published in the newspaper, and he received praise from the community for his courage and talent. But more than the accolades, it was the sense of accomplishment that meant the most to Alex. He had faced his fears, shared his story, and found acceptance and support in his new home. As he stood in the bookstore surrounded by friends and well-wishers, he realized that he had finally found his place in the world. He had overcome his past and was ready to embrace his future. Emily watched him with pride, knowing that she had played a small part in his transformation. She had offered him a listening ear, a kind word, and a nudge in the right direction. And in doing so, she had helped him find his way. As the sun set over Willow Creek, casting a golden glow over the town, Alex turned to Emily and said, "Thank you for believing in me." Emily smiled, her eyes shining with tears. "You believed in yourself," she said. "I just reminded you that you could." And with that, they stood together, two souls who had found solace and strength in each other's company, their hearts full of hope for the days to come.